Hello, everyone. So I am back again. Yesterday I did Let It Go Wednesday on at She Writes Masterpieces, and today we're doing Pick My Brain on at Masterpieces Writing. So what I'm doing right now is just waiting to see who is going to pop in on the live, and we'll give it a few minutes, and then after that we will get started. So if you are watching this on the replay, let me know how you are doing. Hey, Desiree. So we have someone who joined us. I'm trying to wave, but it's not doing anything. How have you been? Oh, that's so sweet. How have things been going? I'm trying to figure out why my wave is not working. Oh well, must not be needed. So yeah, just still waiting to see who else pops up. Gonna do a time check. One more minute. Oh, oh my God, that's so sweet. So she just mentioned that she misses working with me. I actually work with her as an accountability partner. Well, I would definitely reach out to you just to do a check in to see how things have been because it's coming up on the year mark. So I'm very curious to see how things have been working out for you. Now, that makes me feel so good. Yeah, because especially when you are working with people, you do want to handle them with care. And oftentimes, like, you might doubt yourself. It's like, well, am I offering the best advice? Am I being supportive? So whenever people are able to come back and say that like they actually did benefit from it and they actually miss working with me, like that makes me feel so good. And it's also confirmation that I am headed in the right direction and that I am just letting God lead me in everything that I do because I cannot take full credit. I cannot. Thank you. Oh my God, that is so sweet. Well, I am glad that you are here tonight. And of course, if other people come in, I will greet them as they come, but I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm quite sure that you might be interested in this too, Desiree. So I'm quite sure this would be a good topic for you. So I know a lot of people have probably been familiar with the term entrepreneur. And just in case you don't know what that is, it's an author entrepreneur. And nowadays, there are a lot of people who are getting into this field and they are thriving. And some people feel as if they are afraid of it because they feel they have to have always have been a writer or have always had aspirations to be an author, but that is definitely not the case. Oh, wow. So I am definitely going to send you a message after I get off live. Definitely going to do that. So getting back to entrepreneurship is really something that you really don't have to have a lot of skill to get into. You really don't even have to have a lot of know-how in how to jump into entrepreneurship. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Like, it is very approachable, very approachable. And I will admit, when I first started working with clients who didn't feel the same way that I felt about writing, because I've always loved writing, I've always loved reading books. But when I started to come across clients who did not feel the same way, it was like, wait a minute, how can you not care? Like, what? It was just the craziest thing. Like, people who did not even want to read a book, but they wanted to write one. Like, people out there exist. But now that I've learned more, this is a no judgment zone, and I'm all about people getting their coins. So, in any way that I can help you do that, that is what I am here for. So, here are three reasons why you do not have to be a writer to be an entrepreneur. Number one, you can hire someone to write your book, you can hire a ghostwriter. And when I tell y'all, there are a lot of books that are out there on the market now, and the author did not write it at all. And they are able to still have their life, have their career, have their family without having to have the extra time to put aside for writing a book. Because that's one reason why people say they just don't get it done because, oh, I just can't see how I can fit it in. I don't have the time. Well, a ghostwriter will take that off your hands. And of course, there are multiple ways to work with a ghostwriter, but one way you can come to them with an idea, they can help you flesh it out, or you can allow them to interview you, especially if you're doing a memoir or an autobiography. You can make it more personal to where they actually interview you, get your thoughts, and it can sound just like you wrote it. It can be in your style, and that's what makes these books believable. And you probably would not be able to tell which books you are reading that have been written by someone other than the author, because that's just how good they are. Now, I do have to give a disclaimer that working with a ghostwriter might be a little expensive, but it would definitely be worth it, especially if you feel you do not have the time. So, this is ideal for the people who just have busy, regular, everyday lives, or the business owners and entrepreneurs who just feel I just cannot find time outside of running this business. So, getting a ghostwriter would definitely take care of that. So, the second reason is where I come in. So, you can hire someone to coach you through the writing process. And that's what I do. I'm a book coach. Even though I did offer ghostwriting in the beginning, I can admit that it was kind of a lot because I was still editing and book coaching and having the time to write for other people, then trying to write on my own projects. It was time consuming. And of course, it is something that I might consider bringing back, but I love coaching because I can just guide the client through the process. So, whether you have a manuscript that's already written or it's something you want to start from scratch, we can develop it, we can brainstorm outline, we can edit together, we can figure out how you want to publish. Most of the time, my clients want to self publish. And now I'm offering a marketing package so you can know how to market your book. And of course, this is important as an entrepreneur because you want to focus on the business side. And of course, it is a highlight to be a published author, but you also want to be a paid published author. And of course, that's where entrepreneurship comes into play. So, like ghostwriting with book coaching, it might be a little expensive. However, it's definitely worth the investment. If you are someone who considers yourself an okay writer and you want to improve on the skill and you want to get better, or if you do consider yourself a great writer, but you just want to be more familiar with the process so that you can do it on your own and you can do it more consistently. Because even though, because I can say that myself, like, even though I've always been a good writer, working with other people has made me an even better writer. And also, the support and accountability that you get is definitely a plus. Because I've had people who are excellent writers who just needed that extra push, who just needed the person to check in and be like, okay, so are we working on this? Are we getting this done? The accountability aspect of it is really important. And also the support, getting motivation, because sometimes it can just seem overwhelming and it's not really that bad. But when you talk to someone, they reassure you and let you know, like, hey, this is normal, you can feel what you feel. You can take a moment, but make sure that you get back to what you're doing. So that's mostly what I do, and I absolutely love the coaching aspect of things. And I am not a drill sergeant. I am not. I'm really the person who's just there to help guide you. Like my therapist told me, it's like, this is your ship. Like, you're steering it. Like, I'm just here to help guide and direct you. And that's how I feel with my book coaching clients. So, book coaching is an option if you are someone who wants to be involved in the writing process. And also, if you're someone who just wants to take that challenge. Sometimes you may not know that there is a good writer inside of you. You've just never been exposed to the opportunity. So, all of those are good reasons why a book coach might work for you. So, the last reason, but certainly not the least, this one is going to be ideal for people who don't have the time, who don't want to spend out a lot of money, and who don't really care that much to have a full book. You can publish low content books. Yes, they exist. And the crazy thing about it, I did not know that I even knew what low content books were. Like, I actually own them. So, a low content book is basically what it says, books that don't have a lot of content. So, these are journals, these are short workbooks, guides, these can be cookbooks, anything, even a quote book, anything that does not require a lot of writing. And with a journal, like, you can just put a few prompts in there, put a few quotes, or you can even just make a blank one. Like, there are so many different options that you can have with low content books. And even with ebooks, with some digital products, even though you can say that my ebooks are along the lines of kind of sort of like a full book, because I've been writing a lot in them. But there are some people who just put a little bit in their ebooks and they still put them out and they still sell very well. And the thing to master this area with low content books is to make sure that you are very clear in what you are writing. That way you can make a maximum input. well, output with minimal input. You guys get what I'm saying. So just make sure that it is clearly outlined, planned out, and all you have to do is just write it out, design it, and put it up. And it does not take as much time. Hi, Lawanda. So my sister just popped in. How are you doing? So you came in at the perfect time. I was talking about low content books, and you just published one not too long ago. So my sister published a journal called Journaling Through It. And if you go to the link in my bio and go to my portfolio, you can get your own copy. And this is a perfect example of low content books. So it's blank pages, but she has quotes on every other page. And doesn't take that much work to do as long as you have it clearly thought out, figure out what your layout is going to be, and boom, now you're a published author, and you can publish more frequently. As opposed to when you write a book, it is more time consuming, especially if you're writing like 50,000 plus words. That can be a lot. And especially going through the process of getting it edited, getting it formatted, that takes up a lot of time. But low content books, definitely the way to go. So, just to give you guys a recap of everything that I discussed tonight. So, here are 3 reasons why you do not need to be a writer to be an entrepreneur. Number 1, you can hire a ghostwriter to write your book. Number 2, you can hire a book coach to help guide you through the writing process if you want to write it yourself. Or 3, you can publish low content books. And with all of these, I want you guys to know that you have to do your research. Oh, y'all are just showing out tonight. Thank you. So my sister mentioned that it wouldn't have happened without my assistance. Thank you. Y'all are so sweet. Like y'all are just showering me with all this love tonight. I wasn't expecting that. But like I was saying, just make sure that you do your research and you know what you are getting into before you get into it. And even with ghostwriting and book coaching, you can do the same in hiring somebody to do a low content book for you. And it won't be as expensive. So just make sure that you explore all of your options that are available to you. And even when you hire someone to do the work for you, just make sure that the person actually matches your vision, that they fit your style, that they actually get what you're trying to do. Because oftentimes you might have a bad experience to where you don't really match. And it's really great to make sure that you get reviews, get testimonials from people, ask around, see if they're popular, and even if they're not popular, because sometimes you have some hidden gems. I consider myself to be one. Just make sure that you have a direct means of communication with them and have certain questions that you need to be answered, and you have to pay attention to how they respond because oftentimes you can tell whether it's a phone conversation, whether it's email, you can feel whether or not this person will actually get your vision, whether it would be a right fit for you. So even with the budget, make sure that you have an idea in mind. Make sure that you research. Get on Google. Google is your friend. I say that. Oh, thank you. She said not for long. I won't be a hidden gem. I received that. I definitely do. Yeah, so get on Google. The internet is your friend. I say that a lot. Get on social media, especially on Instagram. Like, there are so many people on Instagram who just have all this knowledge that you can just get from them. So ask around. Even if you want to ask me, like, I'm not the person who would try to hog people. I'm the type of person who would be like, if I can't do it and I know someone else who can, like, I'm going to pass you along as a referral. Like, I'm not going to try to hog you for myself. So let me see. All right, so I have a question here. Oh, this is good. This is really good. So I'm going to get to that question in a second. But just to finish everything up with doing your research, it is very important. I've had a lot of people who have come to me and they tried to jump into a certain area by themselves and they were like, I spent out all this money when I realized I really didn't need to. So it's kind of like by the time they came to me, it's like we're cleaning up mistakes that happen. Yes, I see it. And so Desiree was just telling me that she submitted her question in the question box. So it is very important that you know what you are getting into before you get into it. And make sure that it's worth it. Because like I said, I've always been a writer. I've always loved writing. So it doesn't matter. Like, it's always going to be worth it to me. But sometimes the time commitment, which you have to invest in it money wise, it may not be worth it to you. Even with how you publish it, which is going to lead into the question that I received. You have to explore your options because you can publish it digitally. Amazon is really popping, but there's also sites like Lulu that can help you distribute it. And you can do print on demand. There are places like Book Baby where you can actually get physical copies of your book that you pay for at a discounted rate and then you sell them. And even with traditional, there are still some companies that offer traditional publishing, but you do have to be aware of, the pros and cons with that, which is what I'm going to address. So, the difference between self publishing and traditional publishing. So, when you self publish, you are responsible for every single part of the publishing process. You make all of the decisions. So, you figure out how it is going to be distributed, you figure out the formatting, cover design, how it's going to be marketed. All of that is on you, and it is all of your thoughts, all of your ideas. Now, of course, you can outsource to other people if there are certain things that you're not comfortable with or things that you're just not finding the time to do. You can pay someone else to do it for you. And of course, you do get to keep a bulk of the royalties. And that's one thing to look out for as well, because even though there are sites that you can publish on, they do take a bit of your earnings for you to be on their website. Because, like I mentioned, with Amazon, even though you're not paying up front, they do take a chunk of your royalties. I think you get like 70%, which is still good. I'm not sure if they've changed it, but within the past year, that's what it's been. Now, with Lulu, to use their services, you do have to pay up front. So you have to keep that in mind as well, which is why I emphasize doing your research. And there are many, many, many more websites besides those. And even like I mentioned with the print on demand, if you wanted to sell them in person, if you want to sell physical copies, like there are so many different routes that you can take. And even if you just did not want to be bothered with either of those and you just wanted to do it on your own, you can set up your website and you will be responsible for paying shipping, of course, but there are ways to do that in a cheaper way as well. Now, with traditional publishing, these are people who take some of the busy work off of your hands. So they are skilled, well, they should be skilled in what helps a book sell, and they are heavily involved. Even though there are some people who will give you some creative freedom, oftentimes they're involved in, okay, what's the cover going to look like? Does this title still work? Like, they might have to go back into your manuscript and they might have to redo some things so that it can appeal to your target audience. And of course, when you're self publishing, you have to figure all those things out yourself. But with a traditional publishing company, they save you some steps. However, they do get a big chunk of what you make off of the book, which is why a lot of people nowadays are doing self publishing more because they want more creative control. They want to keep most of their money because some publishing companies will offer you an advance. However, how advances work is kind of like the record company. It's kind of like a loan. Like they give it to you with the expectation that you will make that back for them. And only once you make that back, that's when you'll start to get money in royalties. So let's just say you got like $400,000 in an advance. So once you've made $400,000 in book sales, once you make $400,001, that's when you'll start to get that dollar and everything that comes after that back in royalties. And sometimes you don't meet that threshold. And I'm not sure if there have ever been instances to where people have owed it back. I know in the music business they have, but I haven't heard any stories as to where people have owed that back. But some people do feel it's not as profitable to do a traditional publishing route as opposed to doing it the self-publishing way. But you can stumble across some great people. Now, if you're going to do traditional, the good thing to do is find a literary agent, someone who actually knows that field and can help you navigate it. And of course, just like with managers, they get 10%. So keep that in mind as well. So, of course, there's going to be a price tag associated with it. So, I am going back to the question box. Oh, this is a good one. So, how do you know when you're ready to become an entrepreneur? So, this may sound like a very generic answer, but you just know. And you can know it for various reasons. So, if you're like me and you've always had like the love of writing, it's always been there, and it's like when you feel like you just cannot go another day like without sharing your gift with the world, it's like that's the moment you need to start planning. And for other people, if you have been just entertaining the idea of getting another source of income, you can just try it out. It's not to say that you will do it forever, but it could be for a certain time period. Like this is a great way to jump into entrepreneurship, even if you're just curious and you didn't even think about getting into it. by being an author. Like it's always worth a try. And because I know my sister asked this question with her, it's like she's always been a writer too. So it's in her, which is why I was so glad when she released her journal, because it's like, yeah, like this is the first of many more to come. And I'm glad that you asked that question, because I forgot to mention that a major key of being an entrepreneur is making sure that you have multiple titles, that you have multiple things for your audience to buy. So even though there are people who release a single product and it sells really well, the thing that helps you build an audience and where you can have it like for years and years to come is when you have multiple titles for them to buy. She said I'm telling her business. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to help the people. Yeah, and an author that I have to absolutely love is Terry McMillan. And even though a lot of people got introduced to her with Waiting to Excel, there are so many wonderful books that she has. And you can really get lost in trying to keep up with all of them. So that's the goal. And I'm quite sure like Terry McMillan will be good for the rest of her life, because she's had a very long like career in being an entrepreneur, you know. And there are very different ways to go about doing that. So I have another question. Do certain genres sell more than others? So this one is kind of a tricky question because there are certain things within each genre that sell more than others. But the thing to tap into, because even though you might be more likely to do that, and especially if you're looking for passive income, it's like, okay, let me go see what's hot right now. Let me see if I can jump on that. But the danger in doing that is that people go through phases. So while one minute people might really be into romance, they might really be into fantasy, it's like the next thing you know, like, oh, now people are buying more self help, like, and especially now with, us being in a pandemic, people are buying a lot of self help books, but once that fades out, like it will be something else. So you have to be prepared for the waves, for the ebbs and flows with that it's always going to change. So what I suggest is just doing what's unique to you, what feels the best to you, what comes to you naturally. And it's so many different genres, and there are subgenres within those genres, and you just have to figure out who your audience is. And most of the time, so if you already don't have an idea of what you want to write, your audience will tell you. They will let you know what it is that they want to hear. They will let you know what they are interested in. And even if you try something out and you don't get that great of a response, you can go back to the drawing board and figure it out again. So that's the beauty of it. The entrepreneurial side of it. Like, you have full control. You can make all these changes yourself. Like, you can go back in and it's like one minute I'm doing this, the next minute I'm doing something else. Because with me, I want to do a self help book first. However, I'm still going to write fiction. Then I'm going to have a poetry book. So it's like, it's a lot of different genres that I want to tap into, So don't feel as if you have to limit yourself. But of course, before you decide on a genre, like I said, just make sure that you do your research to see how things are performing. And here's another tip: go to Amazon, go to the New York Times bestsellers list. Like, go see what's on those lists as bestsellers so that you can get an idea of what people are looking for. And even if you're not going to do it in the exact genres that are selling well, pay attention to how the book covers look. Pay attention to what the titles are, like what really grabs people's attention. So that's another great way for you to figure out what genre like you want to break into the entrepreneurial world with. So, did anyone have any more questions? Let's see how we're doing on time. So 6:24, we are doing great on time. And I'm so glad that you guys stayed for the duration of the video, because this was fun, because I've never had people do the question box before. Normally I would have a question that someone commented or DM me. So this was fun doing a question box, because at first I was like, wait a minute, like, what's this notification down here? Because I almost did not open it. So I'm so glad that I did. Well, okay, so let me see. We have another one. So it's been said that the average book sells about 1,000 copies a lifetime. Is it true? So here's what I'm going to say, because, like, I don't like to say whether or not, something's true or false, but that's the reason why it's best to have more than one book. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because, of course, as times change, how people buy changes, and that affects a lot of sales, and especially now. I'm not going to say that, the market being oversaturated is a bad thing, but just be aware that there are a lot of people who might have similar ideas to yours, and I don't want you to see it as a competition, but it kind of sort of is that. But the right readers who are for you, like, they will find your content. But just be aware that there are a lot of people out there, that are going to have similar ideas, but that's not to discourage you. That's just to help you believe in what you have more, to know that who your readers are going to be your readers. But again, if that's what I would say, if that is true, that's a big part of the reason why it is great to have multiple titles so that you can have multiple sources of income and not just in one area. So, all right. I think I'm going to let that be the last question so I can go ahead and get out of here. And are you guys going to watch the battle tonight, the versus battle? Because that's what I want to be ready for. And I mentioned in my video last night with my Let It Go Wednesday that I had my money on Stephanie Mills, even though I know it's not really a competition per se. Like, I absolutely love Stephanie Mills. And it's like I have to hear her sing a few songs. It's like I don't want to miss it. Like, I don't want to watch that on the replay. Like, I want to be there in the moment. And so my sister's not sure, but I'll watch it for the both of us. How about that? No problem. No problem. Like, this was really fun. Like, having this type of interaction. It was very, very, very fun. And like I said, it was unexpected. Like, I wasn't looking for, but like, I'm so glad. So I look forward to having a whole lot more lives like this. And like I mentioned in my live video last night, I'm not exactly sure of what my schedule will be because we have the holidays coming up. So it will get regular after these holidays pass, but I will definitely let you all know when I will be back with another live video, which is probably going to be after Thanksgiving, but I'll let you know officially. So if you are not following me, make sure that you follow me. Make sure that you click the notification bell so that you can know when I go live and so that you can keep up with all my posts so that you can know what's going on with me. And I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend and have an amazing Thanksgiving. Like, after tomorrow, I will technically be out of the office, so I am looking forward to that. I am looking forward to eating, and I just hope that everyone is going to be just filled with a lot of laughter, a lot of love. And even if, you don't celebrate or you don't really have that great a relationship with your family, or you're just making a choice to spend it alone, just make sure that you are showering yourself with love, because that's all that matters, and just be grateful for where you are. Like, it's taken me a long time to get to the point to where I can be grateful for where I am, and I definitely will not change absolutely anything. So even though it's taken a while, I'm glad I'm finally here. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you are interested in working with me, click the link in the bio. You can work with me one-on-one, or you can check out the services that I offer. Also, check out what I have available on Gumroad, and stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to be dropping some Black Friday deals. So I think I'm going to do the teaser tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that post so that you can start to get your coins ready. And I guarantee you, you are going to love what I have available. So if you don't want to miss that, stay on the lookout for those posts. And again, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.